Went a little bit. I gave EO a little extra volume there.
I didn't hear it.
You didn't hear anything?
I didn't hear the music.
Maybe only I can hear it because I'm on the monitor side.
Oh, it's one of those nights where it's all about you.
It's all about me. I'll ask EO. By the way, Ken Harris, peace and love. Brad Ripito.
What's up, man?
Good to see you, sir. Greg Martin, welcome. State of emergency in New Jersey today. I hope you're okay up there, Greg. Robert Cohen. Rhett Donnelly is in the nation's capital, or I should say, well, it is kind of the nation's capital.
The state capital.
The state capital, but I feel like the heart of the nation, and it to me is Annapolis.
He's on assignment somewhere else.
Thank God it's Tuesday. On behalf of First Amendment Sports, I'm Ken Meringolo. Welcome to Tuesday night. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, do all these things as you catch us out. And if you wouldn't mind, tell a friend. Go ahead and hit that tweet that we sent out beforehand, or let people know we're talking about Commanders. We're going to be here all off season. The official Commanders off season show, Offseason on the Brink, that is, of First Amendment Sports. He's Tim Strachan.
All right, look, I said I wasn't going to wear the hat again. I was going to retire it. I was never going to wear it again. But I'm feeling like a kid again. I was like, you know what?
It's like a kid again.
Things might get better.
I love it.
I gotta wear it. I gotta put it on. So, haters be haters, but I'm donning it tonight. I'm feeling nostalgic.
I mean, it's hopeful. We always have to feel hopeful, but yet guarded.
He's Kevin Ricca, by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
Why are you gonna do this?
Thank you. No, because
You're the one who told me to be positive.
Exactly why I have strapped this boner underneath this belt for the last 48 hours. So I'm just trying not to let everyone see it, T. Know a little, show a little. That's all I'm saying.
You're not knowing, you're showing, unless you're growing, as they say in the business.
Is that why you wore the pants with the elastic?
You know a veteran when you see a veteran. Game recognizes game, sir.
There's no camera below the waist. There's
that doesn't get
not a pair of pants on in this
does.
basement. We gave our pants wearing days hours ago. Listen, the off season has started. It's that weird sensation where it's not the off season for everyone, but it's usually the off season for us. It's getting started in earnest. The Washington football franchise is on the hunt for yet another general manager and head coach, and well, pretty long list of people, as it turns out. We're going to need to do there's going to be a lot of hiring, a lot of interviews, and that's where we'll start because we are in the interview process. I feel like we're pretty much interviewing everybody, and I love it. There's a long list of interviewees. We did not make the list, but it's a pretty long one. And I don't know, maybe someday.
You didn't?
Oh, I did not make the
I thought
list.
Eugene was going to put in a good word for you.
Well, I appreciate you bringing Eugene Chen up. He will be a character on tonight's show, but not yet. Not yet, T.
Really?
Well, sure, why not?
We didn't discuss this at any length.
I didn't even bring him up.
That's true.
T.
Jesus, T.
All right, so let's get things started. Fond farewell to Ron Rivera. It ain't a goodbye Felicia scenario. I thought long and hard about this, and I'm sure a lot of people have. We lost a lot of games with him as our head coach. That's a fact. But he came into just a dirt shit crap situation with a terrible owner, and although he wasn't the only one to ever be able to do it, he did come in here, maintain just a super high level of character and integrity in a place where there really existed not a whole lot, and certainly wasn't led by any of that. So I do appreciate that. I do think that we got better in ways that didn't manifest themselves on the record under him, and I love the fact that he got us to the end of the Dan Snyder era. I'm not going to wax philosophic about how great of a coach he was because, we do still have enough pride to grade people on performance, record, wins, losses, draft picks, all of it. And he didn't do that great. But I'm very appreciative of the man that he was and the guy that he was. And it's a big deal because we've had a lot of shit dirtbags in our organization.
Let me ask you this one question about Ron.
Sounds like a Juice scenario. What do you got?
Can you name anybody else that could have steered this ship during that?
Well,
we got a good guy for it.
I mean, we absolutely did.
Mess.
He beat cancer throughout the process. I mean, there was a lot of things.
There were
that
some
guy
things
did.
he did that were
pandemic.
How about this?
I think only he could have done.
His players loved him.
and
do anything for him. And I love that
yes.
because he became a part of their lives, a part of their world, and he's a good man. I think everyone that pays attention to this understands that. Let's separate all of our BS from that. But that's also separated when you're the head coach.
I'm speaking
it's
more
already
of
separated.
More of the ownership front office crap. I mean,
it's a storm
those
deal.
waters. I don't know if anybody else could have done it as well as he
with
did.
the pirate turdswaggler raging,
while also keeping a competitive team. Not a great team, not a team that really
great team,
but competed. I mean, we weren't dog shit bottom until this year.
Until this year,
yeah, that's true. I feel like old Riverboat Ron, that boat was just floating around out there, rudderless, and he got out. He got out in the water. He grabbed it by the rope. He pulled it in to the shore. He got everyone to safety. And now they're just going to blow that boat up and buy a way nicer boat. Yeah. And that's okay. And then the story of Ron Rivera, we will always embrace him for being a kind-hearted dude. He didn't do anything horrible to us. In fact, he kind of saved us with his character from the terrible guy that was here previous.
From total
At least, exactly. At least from like everyone being like, what
he
a
seemed
shit
like an
storm.
adult.
Yeah.
It was better than that. I mean, he wasn't he wasn't just a mature adult guy. I mean, he was. But he was, he was a linebacker for the '85 Bears. You know what I mean? Like he was a military family guy,
right?
And he was a genuine article. I was thinking back in the Dan Snyder era, two coaches. I can only really think of two coaches that came in and went out better than Ron Rivera. It would have to be Joe Jackson Gibbs. Obviously, he came in. But what I'm saying under Dan Snyder.
Oh.
So he was hired by Dan Snyder. We all rejoiced, and he ended up leaving 3 years into a 5-year deal, but on his terms after the Sean Taylor stuff. And Marty Schottenheimer, he came in, he went 8-8. He started off 0-5, ended up 8-8, and he famously said, Dan Snyder, I saw the phone bill. I know you're talking to Vinny Serrato at 3 o'clock in the morning down at the West End Hotel.
Love you more.
Love you more. I'm not hanging up. And he was like, it's him or me. And Dan Snyder was like, I choose Vinny. And Schottenheimer, to his credit, was like, see ya.
And to be fair,
he was the smartest freaking dude.
Yes.
Vinny was way better looking than you guys got to be honest. I mean, that was a brutal turn. That's when we thought we were going to old school regime and everything was going to be at least above board.
At least 500.
Yeah. At least 500.
Who knew that was the best we had it for years?
Well, the one thing that I kept seeing today, everyone kept talking about. There's a million things we saw today, but Pete Carroll, Steve Mariucci, Jim Mora, Jim Swartz, Jim Fossil, Steve Bagnola, and Greg Williams all got interviewed.
Yes.
And then he was like,
"What?
We're going to go with Zorn." That was the group that he hired Zorn over. Pete Carroll, Steve Mariucci, Jim Mora, Jim Schwartz, Jim Fossil, Steve Spagnuolo, and Greg Williams all interviewed.
I bet you there's only one of those guys would legitimately have come here. I would say Greg Williams.
They all interviewed. And Pete Carroll was kind of a but interview. He wasn't coming here.
Yeah. I think Jim Zorn was the only guy who was willing to say yes.
Remember, they were trying to partner up like a head coach with him. They hired him as the OC, and then they were like interviewed everyone else, and just whatever the hell it was, they were probably sitting there going like, "Would you be the DC? How would you like to work with Jim Zorn?" They were like, "How about you take it easy?" But I just laughed at that. Anyways, I don't want to get off on a tangent there, but these are the types of things that we have been dealing with, and I'm sorry I'm calling Josh Harris's advisory committee his starting five, and I was chuckling today thinking about what Danny Snyder's starting five would look like.
Bobby Myers, Rick Spielman, Mitch Rales, Magic Johnson, and does Josh Harris count as the
He's the coach.
Where's Mark?
He's the coach.
9.
So that's 5. That's the 5.
So you got your 5. David Blitzer.
Okay,
that's it. Just 3 owners: Rails, Blitzer, and Magic, with Josh Harris, and then Bob Myers and
what about Hine?
And Rick Spielman.
Who?
Mark Hine? Isn't he part of the whole?
Who?
He's not on the. He might be a.
No, it's 5 guys on it. There's 5. Now they say like Magic could swing through like for after happy hour right during appetizers and be like, oh hey, what's up? How's everybody doing in here? But those were the 5 that he selected to be present for all the interviews.
Yes. Okay, yeah.
And I thought that was pretty special because, just a bunch of guys with winning backgrounds. And then looking at it and seeing that Bob Myers, the guy everyone's talking about, dude, he's 48. He's our age. Yeah. And his story is remarkable. His whole tale is remarkable. Walking on at UCLA after he was looking to see where the crew coach was. And Steve Lavin was like, why don't you play basketball, dude?
Yeah.
Jim Herrick was like, walk on. Well, he earned a scholarship, started 4 games his senior year, had a 20-point game. Like he was like, all of these things he just kept growing, but he's just that type of dude. Yeah. He's 48. All these other dudes are at least in their mid-50s and up to the 70s. So that's very interesting to me. And the other thing, we'll get into it, but Rick Spielman, boys, Yes, he's a great guy to have over here. He's also a guy that when we'll talk about later on in the show and later on this year. Adoration for Caleb Williams.
Yes.
He said he would take him over Peyton Manning. He said the only guy he wouldn't in the last however many years have him over on a rookie contract, tease Andrew Luck.
That's what
he said. 1A and 1B.
It's going to be someone feeling like that makes the decision.
Elway, Peyton Manning, Pat Mahomes, Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Joe Burrow, and Trevor Lawrence. He said unequivocally. You guys don't. And by the way, I think at least I know I do, but I'm a bit manic with it. I think the guy's generational. Anyways,
he is.
It's a very interesting starting five of guys to have. At the end of the show, I would like to hear some of these guys on the board. You guys after a few drinks, talk about what Snyder's top 5 advisors. I mean, there's some names coming out of there.
It's really bad.
It's so amazing too.
Sounds like a backroom poker game that you don't want to be a part of.
Rivera's out.
I never played backyard poker. It's one thing about me too.
Back room.
And we salute you, sir.
That's fair.
Ron Rivera era has come to an end, and again, the part of the other half the league or almost half the league still being in the playoffs, and a portion of the league who's not in the playoffs, they're not looking for coach, they're not looking for a GM. So it is a race. It's like a turn on the lights and watch the cockroaches run scenario at the end of the regular season when you see the teams like ours, and we're like on day one, we're like we have 12 people. We've already we're gonna be interviews all day long. They're like every hour. Like I bet you it's like Jim Harbaugh and Mike Vrabel are passing each other in the hallway on the way. I mean, it's a ridiculous scenario. Before we do that, though,
all sitting in a waiting room.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what's going on here? Like
elevator music on.
It's like backroom casting couch of NFL coaches.
Great skit.
Harbaugh's got both hands jammed down the front of his pants, staring off into nonsense. It really was.
Dude, if you're Mike Vrabel, you're like, I'll go after Jim Harbaugh, but there's no way in hell I'm going after somebody else. I mean, the other person.
I can't even. Just entertaining all thoughts about Harbaugh. The first sentence after the championship is, "You see that confetti? Every piece of that maize and blue paper tells a story." I was like, okay, that's about enough. I'm done. We're good. We are good. You're really good at what you do, but you're so weird, dude. Why are you so strange?
It's been turning me off for quite. I mean, it's a little bit. It's kind of boner killing how great of a coach he is, but how much I kind of don't want him to be my coach.
Yeah, of course he's very good. But he just there's always some type of something going on with him. He's always doing something weird. He's a bit off, and those khakis got to be stanking. Sorry.
Yeah,
he says he wears them like 6 days in a row. There's lucky
I'm
ones.
with you. I think he's a genius in terms of football and somehow relating to the players and how it all works. But yeah,
all right.
I don't want weird. Weird's not good.
We're going to do GMs and coaches right after we talk in lieu of any kind of post game discussion.
What?
In lieu of? I thought it would be more instructive to.
There was a game.
I put on some meditative music, and I thought, I had one thought about this whole season, and I couldn't get away from it, and I can't get away from it now, and that is, we knew exactly who we were in the first half of the first game of the season when we played the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, we had a lot of high hopes. We had players who didn't know exactly how that was going to turn out. We had Eric Bieniemy. It was year 4. We had, B-Rob was healthy, blah, 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 blah. Emmanuel Forbes was a first-round corner when we needed a corner. All of it was things we had reason to be excited about. Great defensive line, 4 first-round picks. Everything was there. And then all of a sudden we played the Arizona Cardinals. Now, say what you will about the Arizona Cardinals. They're
we did. We were like, they're going to win more games than people think.
They weren't good, and neither were we.
They can compete. They're tough.
It was right there. It was right in front of our face in September 11th or whatever day it was, September 10th, 12th.
Oh, it was so horrible.
It was right there. It was like, this is who you are. Don't forget it.
Josh Dobbs has improved in the last 2 weeks since he was a Cleveland Brown. What the shit?
He's on his 10th team this year. But
Ken, you hold the pig. T, you grab the lipstick.
Whew. I kept getting back to that. Like, as much as I wanted to be angry about having 4 wins this season and the manner in which we lost and never really ever competed for almost any of those games, those losses, we weren't in any of those games, if we're being honest. And the games we won, if you really go back and look at it, it's like, and this one could have swung a couple different ways.
No. Ron Rivera versus the Giants has been sweet.
Yes.
I've been really digging it over the past few years.
Dude, think about it.
They're having the worst era of their lives, and they're undefeated and they've tied
can't
us.
touch
They're pissed
them.
about tying us once. They're like, those turds. We tied them last year.
I mean, think about how bad that we could have been in some years. So everyone always talks about that 2-point conversion against the Miami Dolphins that cost us. I don't know who did it cost. It cost us a number 1 overall pick. Joe Burrow. Everyone says it cost us Joe Burrow. And I'm like, all right. I mean, I get it. You can go back and you say, well, that was a weird call, and clearly it would have been the difference. It was the difference. And then I think this year you look at it and you say, we had 4 wins. There wasn't a single game we lost that we could have won, and there were a couple of the games that we won could have gone either way. But like we still lost the 0-4 Bears, and we lost the Giants twice. That's 3 losses. That tells you a lot.
9 hours of our lives we can never get back. Everyone here, we all can say that to each other. At least we were able to console each other on a Tuesday afterwards.
That's how you earn the number two overall pick. If you lose to 0-4 Chicago Bears on Thursday Night Football, when you have a chance to make a season out of it, and then you get swept by the Giants, you're like, man, second overall pick makes a lot of sense.
And to be fair, so that 2 points ruined the first pick. We still had the opportunity to draft Justin Herbert or Tua.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, let's be honest. If quarterback is what we're talking, quarterback is where we have failed as a franchise for eternity. In fact, going back to our Super Bowl days, we all know that Joe Jackson's the only guy that had 3 separate starters win 3 different Super Bowls. And none of them, now Joe Theismann, I think he was a franchise guy for us.
He absolutely 100% was.
I'm not sure if I always felt that way,
thing we
but
got.
right. But
He was, and his career was cut short.
it was. Well, it was
Severed,
legitimately
compoundly fractured short.
Yes. But oh man, it's been really exciting though. The last 24 hours has been real. I'm sorry. This is not winning off the field. This is retro getting rid of what's his name. This is it. This is now part of it. This is part of it. That stink that we thought was gone just to start the season. You can't just get rid of that stink for the season. This is the start. This is the getting back from Vegas. This is day 2 in the shower scrubbing down. You've been in Vegas 3 days. It's a 2-day shower, I believe, and we are in day 2 of it.
It does feel that way.
Well, until it all comes off. You don't sit in there for the whole 2 days. This ain't the crying game.
You have to drip dry though. You don't towel it off. You don't want to. You have to burn the towel.
I will drip dry on a concrete face down in the summer, or else I'm going with the old trusty. There's no other way to do it in my bathroom. Drip dry. What are you going to drip dry your sack? How do you do that? We're 48 now. There's no more drip dry, dude. There's so much dripping stuff. Jesus.
You got to get it.
You almost got drip dried
We're
on.
sharing
the air. The air circulation.
What's going on? What are you doing?
That Carhartt is wick. It wicks.
It is.
I can't stop wearing it. It's the greatest thing
It's awesome.
ever.
I love it.
The weight of it.
Yeah.
How Ken can just drip dry on it and nothing.
It's basically like
Wicks right off.
it's
no
like
water, but
it's
just
like
a
the
tad
equivalent
bit,
of
a tad bit of stank.
a Four Seasons robe.
Squat
A little bit of stank in there.
Air it out. What do you do?
Baking soda works, I think.
Baking soda. I mean, vigorous rubbing and shaking.
cakey.
Obviously,
It's not. It doesn't work on stains. It
Vigorous.
only makes them. It only creates them.
All right, so we are number 2 overall. We did have the season that we had, and that is it.
Can we be done with it?
We're done with it. But I did want to say, you made me think of it, and I just rethought of it. That is why, in my opinion, that we called this the year 1 AD. T had it written on a sweatshirt, and at the end of the day, it did start when Josh Harris took control of the team, because
It's like heaven's opened.
But what I'm saying is by what he's done in his first year has really been extraordinary in that he didn't do like knee-jerk stupid stuff like like that we've seen in previous regimes, the previous regime. You can't fire, you can't be a great owner. You can't fire Ron Rivera. You take control of the team. They've already made the roster. They already made the draft picks. They signed the free agents. They've been in training camp. They're a game or 2 away from the season starting. You don't fire the head coach then. You don't clean house then. I mean, he bit the bullet and ate turd sandwiches this year as the owner, and I give him credit for that. And he's responded at the end of the season with decisive, swift action, George Bush style, and is completely saying, "We're doing it. Like this is happening. We're doing it the right way."
How about we have a man of his word at the top? He said to the fans and to Ron Rivera, "I'm going to allow him this year." He said it, and at the end of the year, he said, "I promised that. I've given that. That's what happened. Now we're done. Now it's time to move forward." I really appreciate the rookie owner not trying to be the big swing and Johnson in the whole group of 32, the guy that wants to come in like a rookie, do things the right way. Look what we're doing right now. It's the right way. Everyone in the league looks at the way he's conducting business. This is not how it's ever been conducted here, with two morons out there playing freaking spin the bottle over a half a drunken bottle of whiskey. And then at the end of the day, we have like 7 different free agents. It was a nightmare. This is different. This sets a tone. I appreciate it.
I feel like the most appropriate thing he did was basically, he didn't say it, but by hiring these people, he says, look, I don't know. I'm not making these. I can't. This is not what I do. I'm getting the badasses that know how to do it and who know how to do it right. I mean, when did Snyder ever fucking do that with somebody who was going to never?
Not someone that didn't say yes.
Correct.
Yes. Would you like another? Yes.
That's
Should
not
we
a
get him?
revelation.
Sure.
That's how things are supposed to be done.
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
And it's not. It also.
I told you this. I saw Rex, the coach.
Rex Chapman.
No.
I'm thinking of.
I know who it is, by the way, but I already know who it is, but I can't say it because I don't want. I'm not going to tell him. Oh, you're talking about Rex Ryan. I know. Damn it,
Rex Walters.
I was trying not to say it.
Rex Ryan,
I was thinking of every Rex I've ever heard of.
Said this is what they're doing. This is what they did in Detroit, right? And actually, Rick Spielman's brother Chris is in the same position there that Rick is in now.
In which place?
In Detroit.
In Detroit.
In that they have this sort of advisor.
How is Detroit like the freaking greatest
structure
organization in the league, by the way?
And they are the ones that are making the day-to-days. I mean, it just I'm not a big Rex Ryan guy, but he has been in the NFL for a long, long time.
And he is a big Rex Ryan, isn't he?
It made a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense.
There's a bigger Rob Ryan, but he's right. He's not wrong. I love the idea of that. How we're gathering information. Also, some of the GMs are interviewing the guy from Philly. He's an analytics dude. Like right now, our boy in San Francisco, he's not known as being some over the top analytical, bright new guy. No,
he has an old school scout to him.
But I understand why we're interviewing all these different type of folks, because I can see, similar to the advisory group, us having him at the top, and then of course, unless Eugene's just sitting there ready for his new guy, I don't understand. I'm not exactly sure what his role is, as opposed to being stuffed in your closet for 6 out of 7 days a week. But
yet again, I didn't bring him up. I'm just saying, I didn't bring him up. Rex Ryan. With a lot of love for Rick. I do like the model, right? I mean, and I was, just to put myself on blast.
May I have some whiskey, please?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
I was put myself on blast. I applauded the decision by Snyder to go with coach-centric over GM-centric, but
I did too.
That was mostly because he had effed up GM-centric for 18 years.
What GM? He never had
Exactly.
one.
Well, Vinny and Bruce were his GM. That was who he was putting in charge of stuff.
It wasn't even their title.
It was that was what they did. That was who they were in his setup. So going coach-centric and saying, Ron Rivera, you got it. You can just please do everything, and I'm going to be banned, and you're going to have to report to my wife.
Karen, why did you do that, Karen?
Don't do it. So whatever. I was wrong. Ron Rivera was. If it was a good model, it could have been a good model, but we had a guy who didn't execute perfectly on it. But this is from a standpoint of like fixer upper, gut it, build it back from the studs. Bob Myers. First of all, Bob Myers. Everyone's like, well, he doesn't know football. I'm like, first of all, he's in sports. He's a sports professional, and he's an executive at the highest level.
2-time executive of the year at the highest level. 4-time champion.
4-time champion. He
from
understands.
A franchise that never won shit.
And if you're if you just paid $6 billion for something, you're like, I need someone who can be in charge of a sports franchise. Which maybe in 1960, that guy had to know who could be his center next year. I get it. But it's not that way now. Right now, you got to have a guy who can run a freaking business. And not just a business, a multi-billion-dollar business in one of the most profitable, insanely great industries on the planet. Recession-proof, depression-proof, everything-proof. And this Bob Myers, so the cool thing about Bob Myers is he comes with all of the things that make him a great sports executive. But the true value in him, I think, for us in the short term, is his Rolodex. People know who he is. People know who Bruce Allen was, and they hated him, and they didn't respect him. And they're like, I hate that guy. I already know I hate that guy.
His peers named him the biggest snake in the NFL.
Yes, they did. Players didn't trust him. Agents didn't trust him.
Come on.
So, we're going from that to a guy who legitimately has respect in an industry where we need to hire good people. Like, we haven't been hiring good people. And why is that? Maybe because good people have no respect for haven't had any respect for our organization. Well, guess what? They're going to respect Bob Myers. They're going to respect, Rick Spielman. They're going to respect Josh Harris and Magic Johnson for that matter. So I love the model of it. And if you really think about it, we've been talking about a GM-centric model. At this point, you are talking about an owner who's still in charge, but he's doing it through sports executives like Bob Myers. So if this GM thing doesn't work out, we still got the good guys even a layer up from that.
Can you imagine when Josh Harris was like, how did we go about this before? Everyone gather around here. Let's talk. What do we do? And they were like, well...
got a bottle of Evan Williams out. 3 bottles of Blue Label Evan Williams.
And see who could fart the loudest. There would be a wrestling match. There was a thumb wrestling match one year. Like
Sonny Jurgensen was like the most sane person in the room.
At 2 a.m, they would call Sonny and be like, hello. What do you think about Brad Johnson getting benched for Jeff George? Oh. I mean, now this is different. Like you said, T, the best businessmen, the smartest, delegate to the best of their abilities and allow. And what he said, which is very important to this franchise, I'm going to hire the best possible position, have the best players, best coaches, best staff, best everything, and then hold them accountable. Right. Nothing's ever been held accountable.
I know you've heard this about head coaches, certainly at like the college level. It's like, is he a good X's and O's guy? He doesn't need to be. Why? Because he's going to hire the guys to be the X's and O's guy. Harris, right, is going to hire the guys and has hired the guys to make those decisions. He is their coach. So he is in charge. Yep.
Oh, he's the belle of the ball. He made us so desirable right now
he understands,
in 5 minutes.
He understands, and this is probably the biggest and most obvious difference between him and Turd Swogler. He knows what his limitations are. He knows what he can and cannot do, and he's going to hire the guys to do the things that he cannot do. That, in and of itself, puts us in the right direction from where we've been.
How long has he been chomping at the bit to unleash this plan on all of us, to unleash all of this on all of us?
So just
because he's waited patiently. We have never been patient in the face of being wise. This seems wise to do. Everything he's done seems wise. The honesty bit, and I hope it's not a bit. And you know what? Listen, I'm sorry. We have been.
He's too socially awkward to be playing.
I think games. So. I agree. I enjoy everything so far. So good. Yeah. It's been extremely entertaining to witness this franchise all of a sudden have eyes on us of positivity, of a franchise that might have it together, of a guy that finally seems to be the reason why we can do business with that franchise. Free agents can want to go there. Coaches, GMs.
And you need it.
We need them all.
I actually find it refreshing that he wears T-shirts, sweatshirts, and a hat.
By the way, that's the biggest sign ever that he is the mafia boss. Look who's wearing the suit and tie with the pocket square and the bow tie. Who's wearing those?
Capos.
It ain't him.
Capos trying to find their way up top.
That you better believe it. This guy is
track suits and comfort.
White beaters and velour.
If he was sitting here right now, you wouldn't know he was the millionaire. And that's the way I love it.
I do too.
I love it.
I mean,
do too.
We have 2 guys here whose last name ends in a vowel. I mean, that's the only way it should be, obviously.
Agreed. That's why we don't have a pants cam anymore.
No pants cam. The pants cam is turned off tonight. But the muff cam is still there.
It was called something else. Never mind. I'm done with that topic.
With that topic, so we're going to look at now, and I got a couple graphics here for us for our
nice transition there, sir. From pants cam to I've got a graphic for you.
As a reminder, please hit that thumbs up if you get a chance, or subscribe. By the way, T, and this is a perfect opportunity. We're having a subscription drive this month. Every subscription gets you. Oh, we're back. We got our subscription. We got our 5,000th subscriber
Get
back.
Out of here.
No, we found him.
Josh Harris.
Kevin wears a mankini next week.
We interviewed.
No, but I don't like
75 people, but we got to finally find the person.
You can't take back the image, but if it goes back under 5, what do? Do I just tuck it in between and cluck like a chicken for the 3rd time?
Buffalo Billet. Buffalo Billet. Here's our interview situation. We're going to start with GMs. We're going to go to coaches. I'm going to pull up a picture on the board, and we're going to talk about that person ever so briefly, and understanding that I think the beauty of the scenario is we're going to interview all these guys. I think we talked about that today. in the past, a guy came to town that we thought we wanted, and as that person, player or otherwise, was walking to the plane, Dan Snyder had his little teeny little arms around their leg, begging them to stay, offering them whatever it took to keep them from going to the next interview, because we all knew when someone went to interview someone else after interviewing here, they weren't coming back, because why would they?
Brilliantly played, by the way, by Josh Harris, interviewing everyone in Miami, directly right outside of Landover. Tremendous.
Yes, we're not
Come
Landover
down to
does
my
not
palatial
exist.
man.
There's no Landover.
And at the very end, they're going to get to
no
Landover and be like, what in the mother?
Our training camp's going to be in Miami. We're going. Our everything's going to be. Our headquarters are down there. The Redskins merchandise store.
The
It's all in
stadium in
Miami.
D.C. better be a tropical paradise. That's all I know.
By the way, that's genius. If you put out, if you just make, I mean, it's
Steel
what
drums.
can't you do? You know what? F it. Go casino style. Just build a gigantic building and just fake. Like in Dubai, they build ski slopes. Why can't we build a Miami beach scene in Landover?
That's fair.
That's all I'm saying.
It's fair.
All right. Well, we solved that problem. All right. So the GMs here's where we go. Let's go to our blue background because it makes my eyes pop. Everyone knows that. And we're going to talk about some. We're going to talk about some GMs. All right. Here's one guy, Ian Cunningham from the Chicago Bears. I like Ian Cunningham. I think he's higher. He's higher on my. He's not my number one, but he's not my bottom number last guy. I think he's an up and comer. You'd be doing a lot worse than having Ian Cunningham. But I do have a red X buzzer. Can't hire him reason. And if anyone else, if anyone else likes him, please.
Why?
I love the guy. He doesn't look like he played O-line at UVA and had a stint as an undrafted. He looks like he's taking some weight off there, looking good in his. Well, he's been out of the league 14 years, but this guy is very interesting, man.
He is.
I really when you come up with Ozzie, and we've already talked about him specifically for this reason. We said it's like going to Harvard Business School if you're a businessman. That is the education that we're looking at, and he's put his time in there. Very interesting. Couple little points. His dad, Louis Cunningham, was with ProServe and the Bird of Prey, representing Michael Jordan back in the day, right here, based out of D.C., and he's cousins with Arthur Ashe. But I think, is the Rooney Rule the reason why you don't?
I think we have other Rooney Rule guys. I don't think he's
Got
a
it. So,
Rooney Rule guy.
but if he does get hired away from Chicago,
They get picks.
as a minority executive, the Chicago Bears acquire a third-round compensatory pick this draft and next.
And one.
That
And
seems like it could
next.
hurt him.
No, it seems like we better be
And
hiring
next. It
only
doesn't come
black
from out of
executives.
someone's ass. It comes from the league.
From the league. The league that
It's
give
a
it to you.
compensatory. It's not a chink out of someone's armor. This is an additional compensatory pick, but a third-round compensatory pick in back-to-back years for a minority executive getting poached from a franchise while under contract. So
We should be charged draft picks for what we've done to people's careers. Like people have come here like we should owe draft picks.
if that was the case, we
We
would
don't
have
develop
no
any.
draft
We
picks
haven't
for
developed.
so
Yeah,
long.
I know. I'm just saying, like, it makes so much sense to develop people and good people, and because the goal is to win, and the only reason you play football is to win. You're obviously still going to get. You're picking guys who can get the job done. And if you're able to benefit from a rule like that, and I said it just sucks because it doesn't matter who comes here, white, black, red, yellow, whatever.
Care less.
It's the cesspool. Your career came here to die. No one's getting hired from here. Sorry, but here's why.
We could be doing way worse than having Ian Cunningham come make
Hell
these
yeah.
choices. This guy turned down. He turned down Arizona last year.
Yeah.
Said no, thank you.
can't do. Here's why my no Ian. This is why I can't do Ian. It just hurts me. I know. It's irrational.
Stop
It's
it.
irrational.
Stop it.
It's
Stop
irrational.
it.
I'm irrational.
I don't
I'm
like the
irrational.
fact that I thought his negative was more that he's with the Bears now and where the Bears Association is. I mean, he hasn't had enough time, maybe, but
It's irrational.
he's come from two much better organizations. I know you don't want to hear it. You might not want to say it, but it's a fact.
No, Ian Cunningham. Again, I hate Philadelphia lineages. I think it's a stain on the whatever that is, the 23. You know, when you get your DNA picked and they your ancestry, whatever. I mean,
There's a stain. There's a stain on your DNA report.
If you get like,
ask for a reprint.
What's that thing where you spit in the thing and you send it in the mail and they tell you everyone you've ever been related to? It's like DNA ancestry or something.
You're about to get us on a list.
Ancestry.
Ancestry.com, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you get that report back and they're like, oh, by the way, you know, your second great grand uncle played for the Philadelphia Eagles, and you're like, oh my god, that can't be true. But no, I mean that is that kind of. I mean, is that how it works? I think that's how it works.
I mean, listen, he's got family on the East Coast. The Philly seemed like a good place to start a career. Like I don't like.
Okay.
And by the way, Howie did a great job with him after Ozzy. So
I know.
He has been indoctrinated by two of the better
23
front
and
office
me.
men.
Charles Gormley comes through with the 23.
Well, of course it's right. I didn't want to do you the justice of it.
I know.
It's a weird thing.
You don't want to
A lot of
encourage it.
people are scared shitless of 23 and me.
I don't want to know if anyone in my family ever played for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, you also don't want to know if anyone in your family is related to the neighbor across the street,
true.
sir.
It's
on a
true.
third generation cousin situation.
Or the neighbor I'm married to. It does all. It's
Who
all.
knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
All right. So Ian Cunningham, number one. Let's go number two, and not in no particular order.
Obviously.
How about Glenn? Glenn Cook from Cleveland, and I'll say this for Glenn Cook. I like Cleveland's organization. I from the front office down. I think their owner's crazy, but you can't blame Glenn Cook for a bad owner. They're stacked with talent. Granted, they've been drafting at the top of the draft for about 97 years straight.
Oh my God.
So it helps, but they got great players, and they make good moves.
They stink at one position, but they're pretty damn good at a bunch of others.
really
On
are.
the defensive side of the ball, they've been picking winners for a long time here. 38 years old. He looks it right there.
He, by the way, he's
young
jacked.
man.
The jacket hides it. He's jacked.
He played football and baseball at the U at Miami. Wow. Football and baseball. This is a dual sport athlete. Obviously understands how to manage time properly.
Yes.
I know this about him and everyone else on the list. All extremely well qualified guys. No friends of a friend. No buddies of Snyder.
No.
None of that shit.
This guy would never work for Dan Snyder.
And this guy.
That's why I like him.
This guy is for real. We got a bunch of for real candidates.
Glenn Cook goes off the board. How about let's see. I know I got him here somewhere. Oh, yeah, here we go. All right, so let me take Glenn off. I like narrating. And we're going to go with this guy next. And this is a name who's gold, darn it. Where is he? I just saw him. The old eyes aren't working so well. It's Mike Bergonzi. It's Mike Bergonzi. I can't pull his picture up. Mike Bergonzi, the guy from Kansas City. He is not in my... I'm not going to get him.
Been there for 15 years.
I'm not going to get him. It's one of the few organizations you want to get guys like this from. I mean, I think, and the other thing, unfortunately, I really wanted to get him because I believe there's a couple pictures of him out there, and Greg Martin had a keen eye. As a young George Costanza looked to him, which I think.
Well.
He worked for the New York Yankees. George Costanza worked for the New York Yankees. I think this guy is a guy you want working for your professional sports organization.
Well, I know this. He played some college football at Brown, another Ivy League guy, another guy that has strapped up the helmet and shoulder pads. And at the Ivy League, I think it's super special. You don't go there thinking you're going to advance to the NFL, although they've got about a dozen guys in the league right now. Pretty special. That guy's from a big, huge football family, and he is interviewing. Is he tomorrow, I think, with Cunningham?
Yeah, because it's all within like
no,
24
Bergonzi
hours.
was today. I think he has already interviewed. There's three guys went down today. I believe Cunningham's tomorrow. I think we had Cook, Bergonzi, and Peters today. Well, maybe it was Hallaby. I don't know.
15 years at the Kansas City Chiefs and what they've done in the last 5, I would assume that man has learned a whole hell of a lot.
He's been the assistant since 2021, too. You're right. He's been the director of ops. He's been the director of player personnel. He's had multiple... All these guys, one thing in common for everyone, they have started at the bottom and worked their way up to the top. No one's been handed anything. Go ahead, sir.
I mean, Ben Johnson, one of the greatest Western actors in the history of American cinema.
We got off. So let me just mention Alec Hallaby because he's the other guy that we...
Who?
Alec Hallaby.
Yeah, you can mention Alec
The
Hallaby.
Eagles numbers guy, and just briefly, because he's all over the place, but he's been there for 16 years. He's a Harvard grad, and he works closely with Howie Roseman. Some say he's been in charge of the entire draft, and he's a pretty good guy. He's
have good
interviewing in
players.
multiple places as
They're
well.
doing well.
He's worked under Andy Reid, Chip Kelly, Doug Peterson, and Nick Sirianni, and has learned 4 different styles. And this is a guy that, hey, he's the guy. He's crunching your numbers there. I know. Him and Eugene. It's like the Spider-Man.
I already
name.
have Eugene. I feel like I'd be cheating on Eugene if we hired Hallaby.
Double Spider-Man hot DILF. Like,
Did I
think
miss
that's how it
something on
works.
Adam Peters? You didn't even bring him up.
No, we haven't got there yet.
No.
We haven't got there yet.
No, but you said Ben Johnson.
Oh, I did go to Ben Johnson.
No.
You're right. All right, you're right.
What
Sorry,
is
I'm
wrong
sorry.
with
I'm
you?
sorry. Hey, listen, I'm not a skilled
We usually hit the
graphics
green
guy.
room afterwards.
Don't get
Listen.
mad at me for jump the gun.
No, you're right.
You just threw Ben
as
Johnson up
usual.
there all willy-nilly in a bolo tie, ready
Especially
to kick
when I
someone's
had this.
fucking ass.
Especially when I had this ready to go.
Jesus.
All right, so listen, a basement-sized boner for this guy for what, 3 months now? We've been talking about his name. He's come up as soon as we hired out Eugene Shen. Adam Peters was immediately attainable. Then you hire Bob Myers. Went to the same high school. Went to the same college.
So they didn't go to the same high school. It's been debunked on the internet.
Damn
They
it.
grew up 50 miles
Thank
apart
God.
and are friends. It's not the same exact
Okay.
high school. They did go to UCLA together. Not the same high school,
Okay.
same
Thank
area.
you, by the way.
They
Thank you for that,
They
because-
are homeboys in a community that they live within, a drive of each other. So
I mean, he's basically like, this fucking guy. Like, I don't know what he's doing in this picture, but he's kind of saying something like that. He's been our number one, I think, collectively. Maybe. I know that I have. I think you have too. I mean, he's been our number one target.
He's been a lot of people's number one.
I have no idea what he's saying in this picture.
In fact, dude, he turned down 10.
Hey, this fucking guy. I don't know about this fucking guy. He's like, hey, this fucking guy.
Guy thinks I look like Alex Smith. What a dick.
This fucking
This is
guy.
fucking Ken
This fucking
Meringolo
guy. He's like, hey. I think that's kind of how he'll approach the draft and free agency and everything, and be like, I don't know, this fucking
I think
guy.
that's what he's gonna do to you when you're like, hey, Adam.
Of course. No,
He does look like Alex Smith there to me. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't
There's a little
respect
bit
him
of
Little
if
Alex
he's-
Alex Smith, a little something else too.
I love that he
Little,
turned down 2 jobs last year and pounced on a 48-hour after the regular season ended interview this year.
Yeah.
That says that this might be a
kinda like
desirable
Dan
place.
Crowley.
Dude, this was why hiring Bob Myers was a stroke of genius. He's not going to turn down an interview from Bob Myers. He's got a little Randy Quaid in him, I think is what you're looking for, the actor.
Yes.
It's 100% where you're
Yeah.
going. I mean, he's there. It's there. It's especially with the glasses.
And Bob
Dan
Myers has
Crowley,
been,
former DeMatha
yeah.
quarterback.
Bob Myers has also been spending some time in San Fran at the games the last month or so. This stuff's been in the works,
would be
guys.
huge.
This stuff has been in the works. There's a reason why Bob Myers has been attending San Francisco 49ers games. I'm not sure what the league rules
there a
are on
reason why he
tampering
was
with an
first?
executive. Who?
Wasn't he tonight?
He's right. He might have been second. There was 3 guys interviewed today. He was either
Right
second
now,
or third. I think Borgonzi was first, then him, and I'm not sure who was third tonight. But I know that tomorrow is definitely Cunningham, and
Yep.
there's some, whatever it is, out of the 5. 3 today, 2 tomorrow.
They had to shower between interviews and make sure everything was fresh and ready for the next one.
I saw the pad. They were all drip drying right by the pool.
It was a lot of drip drying.
Meringolo style. It was so
Hair
gross. It was
dryer.
so gross. It was like the Hanging Gardens of
It
Babylon.
was just like, dude, the fact that they were even able to have something left in the tank for the Adam Peters interview is admirable of our organization.
Someone just reached out. There's no drips left. Sorry.
There's no drips.
If there's any drips left.
Adam
Apparently
Peters.
you shoot it a text over.
Adam Peters is our number one. He's who we want. I think in a previous universe, we wouldn't let him leave town, but I don't think we're that insecure anymore. I think we're like, hey, we want you. We're going to keep interviewing our guys for another 12 hours. I don't think it's impossible to think that we would have someone in place before the wild card game this week.
Well, I know this. The reason why he's not leaving town isn't just because of the freaking Rooney Rule or whatever. Ian Cunningham is the man who turned down interviews last year. The way he's conducting business so far, so good in this league. He's doing everything properly. There is not a goddamn chance he is going to insult somebody by doing some shit like this, having someone fly to Miami and turn around and blah, blah, blah. That ain't happening. This
no.
guy's doing everything
And that's how you
now.
do
When
it.
was the
That's
last
how
time-
you do it.
Yes.
When was the last time we had candidates like this? And it goes back to a point I think you made. The best point you've made all night, Ken, is that
Hair drying,
no good
air
people,
drying.
no good people would want to associate themselves
Hairdryer works every time.
with Turd Swogler.
No,
You guys owe a couple bucks to the jar,
I-
by the way.
yeah, I definitely do.
No good people would want to do it. Now he's gone. Now all of a sudden we've got a candidate list that is the top.
I agree.
What?
By the way, this is the best candidate
How
list
do we not know
of our
this
entire
in 25 years?
25
I know,
years.
but how about the fact that we released a candidate list, complete transparency? How about you fans deserve a little something more than we gave you this year? Now that I'm in charge, I'm going to give you what you need right now. And everything slowed down in the last 12 hours or so. But yesterday was pretty awesome. He could not wait to release that information. And now we're going to watch this. And I think you're right, Ken. After this round of 5 interviews, I don't think there's going to be any more dudes coming in for GM scenarios. I think they've got their guy.
I think they've got their guy.
And as far as the coaches go, we'll get there. But I don't know about that because that's the dog and pony show. It's impossible to put that you always say it. You make me say the cart before the horse. I hate that I say that now. I feel like it's like when you guys used to say kudos.
It's just because it makes sense to me.
I wanted to call my grandmother Anita Werther's.
Of all the cliches, though, it makes the most sense to me. Like there's so many things that I'm like, oh yes, a horse goes in front of a cart.
What about the Franks and the beans?
Put the cart in front of the horse.
Just like Franks and beans.
That works,
You can't put the beans in front of the Franks
Exactly.
or the Frank. Unless you've got a couple Franks, which
I'm a 2-dog minimum. If I'm making a hot dog, I'm making 2.
Yeah,
that's kind of where
I'm
my
a
life.
1 pocket dog guy. Just one pocket dog.
Pocket dog's fine. I will not make 1 hot dog.
Matt Seal's been pocket dogging for the last decade.
He has been.
Whenever he comes up and we're starving and he's like, and he whips a dog out,
I'm like,
that's delicious. And I was starving. You're the best.
I will eat.
Why do you think I hang out with seals?
It's true.
Stop denying you don't understand what the
dude, I came up.
He gets a pocket sausage.
I came up doing
like a pocket
concession stand deal. Dude, the dog, like those. I came up in stadiums, managing concession stands. I would go back to I did. And my company had the contract for Towson State University.
Dr. Pepperville? You're Dr. Pepperville just managing concession stands.
Think about this. So during this summer, I was an assistant GM for the food service company that ran the Bowie Bay Sox Stadium. And it was, dude, that was like a 100-hour week job. It was crazy. I loved it. You're at a baseball stadium all week long. You would have loved it. It was great. It was the hardest work ever.
At that time in our lives, baseball was not. It was too slow.
No, but I would say, but the job. I was literally working at the stadium. I loved it. I get to run in the place. But the company that owned that contract got the deal at Towson State. So then they ran all the concessions for Towson State sports. Which don't worry, Dave Meggett was long gone by this point in time. So I would roll over. I was at Loyola. I would go over and I would manage. I'd manage the concession stands for basketball games and football games, and I'd go back to the dorms at Loyola, whatever. After that was over, on a Saturday at 5:00, and I would have no less than
firing pocket dogs at everybody.
Dude,
huh?
I went one time. My record was like 225 hot dogs I brought back to the Loyola dorms, and they. Trust me.
That's a big pocket.
And he said nothing about buns either, sir.
Funnel cake.
Get a word about buns.
Burgers, sausages.
So many dogs.
Just the dog.
It was the greatest late night food ever. I'm going to die early as a result of how many hot dogs I ate.
The first dozen are gently bitten.
We
were talking about processed meat wrapped up in tinfoil placed into a friend's pocket. And then next thing you know, there's Dave Meggett. There's 225 bunless wieners.
No, you're not supposed to eat more than 3 hot dogs per year.
I gave you this. Aaron read it. It's
3.
Two
Per
a year. 2 a year. 2 a year. While she told the story,
makes 2
Ken had 2 in his
every
mouth and was beating the other 2 off his temples. It's ridiculous.
So there was a Tupperware container of macaroni and cheese that was left over from the night before, and I was going to have lunch. So I pulled out the Tupperware container of macaroni and cheese, put it in the microwave, and threw 2 hot dogs on a frying pan and fried them up.
It's got to be an odd number, Ken. 1 or 3.
I went 2 hot dogs and microwaved macaroni and cheese from the night before, and it was one of the best meals I've had all week long.
Oh, God.
That's
Poor butthole.
Hello, we're in the basement. I'm not sure if you understood what was going on down here.
There's a microwave, an even number of dogs.
So Adam Peters, you're welcome here.
You can't be a normal person if you only eat 2 hot dogs per year.
No,
it's either 0 or 120 would be my guess.
Let's talk about this guy first.
Okay.
And I like him a lot.
Yeah, so
Aaron Glenn.
else.
He's going to get a job. He's going to be a head coach. He's no nonsense. He was a badass when he played football in the NFL. He was well respected. He knows, he understands what's going on. I would say that if you're looking at strict what happened this year, Detroit's defense didn't set the world on fire. I think I watched most of the Detroit games this year. let's just say I had an interest in the outcome of almost every Lions game this season. Their defense wasn't over the top the story of their season, but I do think that they were schemed well. They have good players. I love Aiden Hutchinson. They got a lot out of him. Jack Campbell, the rookie, again, they got a good linebacker, so they made a good choice there. Their secondary was it Darius Slay, I believe was handling things. They have good players, and Aaron Glenn is a guy who they're going to respect, and they did well.
26 years since they've won the division or something like that.
Yeah. He's part of the good story. You look at our team, you look at Jack Del Rio, and say, well, he was part of the reason we were terrible. Aaron Glenn was part of the reason the Detroit Lions were good this year. And yes, they had some warts, but I think he's a head coaching prospect, and he is not my bottom choice.
He's the communicator of the year guy. The locker room loves him. His personality is such. It's one of these deals too. Yes, he knows his X's and O's, but in the length of a NFL season, that's the dude you want to be in the room with.
Yep,
a fine candidate. I don't think he's in the top 3, but I know this: he will be a coach in the NFL in the next year or two.
Yep,
this dude he's been primed for this. I don't know if this is the right fit for a defensive guy who's never done it, but with his personality, I think we'd be just fine. But yeah, he's a stud, and I was a big fan of him. He was a great football player as well. I mean, he was a great NFL cornerback. I think he was a 4 or 5-time Pro Bowler. Dude's a stud.
T, you like is Aaron Glenn your either your number 1 or number last choice?
My answer is no.
Yeah,
Ben.
Yeah, he's not mine.
No, Glenn.
Aaron Glenn.
Oh, Aaron Glenn. No. He's not. I mean, look. Respected guy and all that, but we have top candidates. We have top candidates that I believe are interested in being here.
And I believe every candidate written down that we've chosen to interview
Glenn
is a player's guy.
He's the guy that we used to end up with, or almost wish we ended up with. And now I think he's a guy that we're saying, I don't think it's going to work, because I think we have better candidates coming.
I think we have better candidates coming too. Let's talk about some of them. All right, so the next one after Aaron Glenn, let's go to. I'll tell you what. Let's go to this guy. Let's turn off Aaron Glenn. It requires me to say it out loud. I'm not very smart. Aaron Glenn goes down, and this guy comes on the screen. Anthony Weaver.
Weaver.
One of 2 guys from the same organization that I would take anybody from, the Baltimore Ravens. I think this is the organization you hire coaches and executives from if you have the opportunity to do so. So Anthony Weaver, a strong candidate. I don't know that he's going to be. I don't think he's our first choice. But I think that. Hey, listen. I think that we have gotten enough panache in the last 24 hours and 12 months under Josh Harris to where we're interviewing legit head coaching candidates. He is one.
Who are also great people, and Josh Harris is sitting there absorbing all this knowledge. I think that's the reason why he's coming for this interview, because I don't know if he even wants to do this or he's doing it elsewhere. He's a man of the utmost respect in this league, and you guys remember, this dude's been a player forever. I mean, Ravens from 2002 to 05, Texans 06 to 08. But he's been around the league, man. This is a guy well-traveled. The Jets D-line, assistant D-line coach in 12, Bills D-line coach, Browns D-line coach, Texans D-line coach, Texans D-coordinator in the pandemic year, and he's been back with Baltimore as the D-line assistant head coach. This is a leader of men. Another guy on the list that we never had the ability to get to bring into town, who now might be too far down on the list of guys that want to be in this town, which is pretty special, fellas.
You might end up missing out on Anthony Weaver because you do get the guy you want who's not Anthony Weaver. But I think the league's better off if he's a head coach in the league. I think we all believe that. And I love the fact that we're interviewing him. Listen, we weren't like our 3rd or 4th choice down the list in years gone by weren't as strong a candidate as Anthony Weaver.
No chance.
Yeah.
No chance.
Just,
not legitimate.
Yes.
Not legitimate
right.
choice.
Yeah.
And yes, dude.
We will be talking about him as a coach that we highly respect.
And he's doing just fine in Baltimore. And
That's right.
loves
And
it
by the
there.
way, he's
And
in
this
line
is
for
just kind of
promotion.
a cool trip down to Miami so he can drip dry with all the boys. Just
He's
like
in
you were
line with
talking
promotion
about. Yeah.
because this guy is also being interviewed, Mike
I know.
McDonald, and he's
I
bounced
know.
around. He's
I
basically,
know.
I don't know, there's a YouPorn sub-channel dedicated to the Harbaugh's affiliation with Mike McDonald. He just bounces back from brother to brother, but he is the defensive coordinator in Baltimore currently. And
Currently 36, bro.
he's 36 years old, and he is getting it done at a high level. I mean, listen, who doesn't want a piece of Baltimore Ravens defense most years? Again, an organization that you would be proud to take coaches from.
And another guy, Josh Harris, looks at his resume and says he's 36. He understands this trend with a young coach. I mean, he also understands that's typically on the offensive side of the ball. When you have it on the defense, that's a whole new ball game. But when you are an intern with the Ravens in 2014 and work your way up underneath once again, I'm sorry, Ozzie has got to rub off on you at some level where you just cannot possibly give in to the idea that he did not gain tremendous amount of knowledge. And then the Harbaughs wanted him, and everyone. So all these winners want him. He's going to be a name we hear for the next 30, 40 years as football
This might
fans.
not be the last interview process
No,
Harris has to go through either. So
It's true.
when you say absorb.
Yeah,
I
very
mean,
true. Very true. Very true.
You
Yeah.
back pocket this stuff. You remember it.
No doubt
this
about
is why
that.
they also tell you, guys like him, go through the process. Be a part of the process. You may not get this job, but do it, experience it,
Yep.
because you're going to do it again. So my
right.
only thing about the last three guys, it's just not the trend right now to be on the defensive side of the ball.
That's correct.
It's right
so,
now. It's an
so let me ask
offensive
you this,
man's
T.
game.
I'll ask you this, Juice style. I always like invoking his name because he was famous. Always say, "Let me ask you this question," and then he would talk for 18 minutes. And I love
That's
I love
not a
him.
question.
I love you to death, Juice. All right, so if you go with a guy like Mike McDonald or Anthony Weaver for that matter, or somebody on that with that mindset, could it be because like what if you thought Mike McDonald was the guy to be the coach? You know what I mean? Like had that it factor. And you're like, oh my god, like he has to be like the Mike. Like I'm talking like the Mike McDaniel it factor.
Yes. No, you got to be spectacular.
Like the Sean McVay it factor, which who are by the way both offensive guys.
And I don't maybe those three guys will get there at some point where it's a no brainer for. It's just right now it's such an offensive minded.
It is
league, and
Kevin.
that's where the trend has gone.
Kevin, can a
And I just thought of this.
Wait, hold on, go ahead.
Bill Belichick, right?
Put a pin in that.
Defensive guy.
Yeah, of
And we
course.
hear all the time, has there ever been a better, head coach quarterback tandem than Belichick and Brady?
Well, Turk Edwards and Sam Ball,
maybe
yes,
it worked because he had Tom Brady. Not because because Tom Brady had Bill Belichick, but because Brady took care of the offensive side of the ball. Belichick didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, that's a great scenario.
Belichick had an it factor as well. I mean, I think you have to.
You're right.
So my question is, and Kevin, I'll give it to you. Is it possible in 2024 for a defensive-minded coordinator, up-and-comer coach to be an it guy?
It's possible, sure.
Is it likely?
No, because you would need to pair him with a young up-and-coming offensive coordinator mind or an old guy who's been around a little bit and wants to translate.
Surefire Hall of Fame quarterback's going to be there forever.
Sure. Who doesn't mind play action and the old school style. Yeah. So it's a possibility, just not in this year's cycle, I don't think. And not for us because
We're coming off a defensive head coach.
we're coming off of a team that invested their entire everything into the defensive side of the ball, specifically the defensive line, and had the worst defense in the history of our franchise. Yes, we gave up more points than any year, not just because of the 17-game season, points per game. We gave up over 30 points per game. Sorry. Yes, a defensive head coach would be great, but offensively, we've got some weapons and some guys. Obviously, that line needs to be reconfigured. It rained like Noah's Ark in here today, and all I could think of was, is there 2 guards and 2 tackles getting on that ship? Because I'm done with it, and so is everybody else. But what was the question again?
Mike McDonald, if he is, if you look in that guy's face, you see a guy who went to Michigan, was at least part of why they won last night. Not the reason why, obviously he wasn't on the staff, but part of that program. Again, bouncing back, brother to brother. Don't Google that. Obviously,
He's not ripe yet.
Don't.
don't do it. But
He's
but
not ripe yet.
is it possible a guy like Mike McDonald has the it factor that Mike McDaniel and Sean McVay have? And I think I disagree. I think I agree
if
with
he
you.
demonstrates that,
Here's why.
demonstrates that in the interview process, good for him.
But the league doesn't really allow that type of panache from a defensive coordinator, which how the rules are written, how the league is done.
Yeah.
It just isn't that way. You can come in there all bang, and next thing you know, your dude gets ejected in the first round for targeting and this, that, and the other. Like, it's just not how the league is geared. Not to mention, I'd like to see some more gray hairs in that guys. I want my offensive coordinators having at least a couple grays.
So then, the follow-up coordinator, the follow-up question to that is,
yes, he hasn't been broken yet.
Are you willing to attribute an it factor to a guy like Mike McDonald if you really want? Is there any fiber of Josh Harris, Bob Myers,
Eric Bieniemy as offensive coordinator is the only possibility?
Is there any fiber of Josh Harris, Bob Myers, and Rick Spielman's being that tries to get a defensive guy and then say, hey, we want you to keep Eric Bieniemy as offensive coordinator?
Bob Myers didn't exactly get here because of defense.
I understand. And that model
Rick
is
Spielman
flourishing.
did, but I'm not sure about
I mean,
that other
so I'll throw him up there. So since I invoked his name, Mike McDonald comes off the board, and we got this guy. So is he? We haven't interviewed him for our head coaching position.
Is he on the list?
I haven't seen him on any lists.
But have we, do we have to announce this?
I don't think so at all.
I don't think so.
He's under contract. He is an employee of the Washington Commanders. He's the offensive coordinator.
How much longer?
He's got another year on contract. It's hard to believe that you would make a coach that you hire, and a GM for that matter, stick with an offensive coordinator. But I also think that here's what I'll say about Eric Bieniemy, and tell me if you guys agree or disagree with this. He has a reputation in the league. He's a known quantity. He's been around for a while. He's been part of championship organizations. He's not a farce as an offensive coordinator. He is the real deal. He's proven it as in that position. Do you look at him and you say, hey, listen, it's not going to be a hard sell if I hire a guy to be a CEO type head coach, especially an offensive minded one, or especially a guy who wants to kind of oversee everything. And keep Eric Bieniemy as offensive coordinator.
I don't know if Bieniemy would want to do that, but that's not the question. So the question is such, and yes, only because of this reason. What was the end game for coming here last year? I always just thought it would that answer would come about as time passed. It still hasn't. What was the end game? Because right now, gentlemen, Eric Bieniemy's talent as a coach lies somewhere in between this season as offensive coordinator for the Commanders and this season watching Kansas City struggle their asses off. I'm not sure which team is better or worse off for his transfer. I just know this.
Look at it that way.
He is a factor in the game, but with no offensive line, a shitbag defense, and teaching a essentially rookie quarterback a whole new offense, I think he did pretty damn good. Now, is that good enough? Probably not.
Yep.
I also think in terms of the head coaching position, like, some of the reports that were coming out this year about players, I know it was kind of bullshit, but he may have a reputation that we're starting to understand may not be suited for the head coaching spot.
Maybe. We also don't know.
Unfortunately for him. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that's kind of been the knock on him, that maybe he's just not head coach material.
Yeah.
And maybe that was exposed.
I believe he will be a head coach, but
I do.
I always have too.
Yeah, I know. We've all agreed on it, and I think
it's been years.
Josh Harris is going to treat him with nothing but class. I believe Eric Bieniemy will treat Josh Harris with nothing but class. In this situation, people want everything to be resolved in this day and age in 1 second. This is one of those situations that can't be just yet. We've got to go through a process here, and I'm sure Josh Harris is saying we got to figure this out. But yes, you are not going to be disrespected at any level. That would be brilliantly stupid to do to a man of your offensive ilk and how people think about you in this league. So I don't know what his connection to us is right now. We don't know whether Mayhew's going to be around, Marty's going to be around.
Not about those guys.
All that shit has to be determined in Miami tonight and tomorrow.
The Bieniemy situation, to me, I love the idea of the professional approach because he is under contract as our offensive coordinator. That's the first thing. He's getting paid a lot of money to coach football in Washington for one more year. And we haven't released him from that contract. And it is in 10 years ago, it was unheard of to keep parts of a staff. You know, if you fired the head coach, you fired the whole staff. That was the way it went forever, until probably within the last 10 years. So, you know, keeping Eric Bieniemy to me is the smartest move we can make as an organization. If he has value as a head coach, someone will come to us and ask us to allow them to interview him. One of the biggest impediments to his head coaching progression, stately, has been that he was unavailable for interviews because his team was going to the Super Bowl. Well, that ain't the case, but we're not firing him. If he stays with us for one more year and becomes a head coach in this league, we get 2 third-round picks. That's a big, big deal to an organization that has almost no talent, you know, on the depth chart. So if you want to call us and say we want to interview your guy, the thing about trading coaches versus trading players is very simple. Players have to go wherever the F they're traded. That's the deal. Coaches don't. Coaches' contracts are not written like player contracts. If a coach does not want to be traded to a team, he does not have to move his family to that city and coach that team. That is absolutely the way it works. And so anytime you've seen a coaching trade, it's more about an organization providing compensation to the other organization because 2 owners agreed to trade girlfriends. I mean, that is how it is. I mean, that is it. They just basically said, "Hey, listen, you can have her," and I know that's putting it bluntly, but that's how it works. The coach is on board with it. If Eric,
I like bluntly.
Yeah, if Eric Bieniemy wants to go somewhere else and another team wants him,
Bieniemy's bluntly.
Yeah, they're gonna give us.
He understands that shit.
I think the bare minimum is a 4th-round pick, and I would say yes to that if someone offered that to us because we have 2 third-round picks coming to a guy we think is going to be a head coach, and if we're hiring a coach this year and it ain't Eric Bieniemy, it ain't going to be Eric Bieniemy here next year. So it's going to be Eric Bieniemy somewhere else. Getting that value for Eric Bieniemy, to me, that would be a stroke of genius for a brand new regime. I think that's where we're headed. But have you guys heard about people calling us to interview Eric Bieniemy for head coach?
No, but we don't have to. Not everyone's so transparent. Tepper's down there in Carolina doing the same shit.
They've been. Like, why wouldn't they have him on?
Because he's already an employee. They don't have to be transparent. He works for it. Right now, Josh Harris is operating under the idea that, hey, both Marty's and him, they're here now.
Yes, there are.
And he's a smart dude. As soon as I make this hire, that guy's going to be dealt with, and I'm going to hold him accountable for that decision. Josh Harris is not going to make these choices, but doesn't mean he can't be a guy that can be a friend to both Marty's and this guy and develop these relationships and be that type of person. It's shocking to all of us that we have a type of person like that because we haven't. That's
right. And we're going, I think because Eric Bieniemy wasn't fired with the head coach, I believe that we're going to get something for Eric Bieniemy. I think he's going to be hired. I think the reality of 2024 is black candidates get interviewed. I haven't heard that he's been asked to be interviewed, but he hasn't had a chance to be interviewed in early January for quite a few years after his career in Kansas City. He's going to be interviewed, and my guess is some owner's going to say, "I'm not." So by the way, there's Dan Snyder's out there. Sorry to use the name.
Where?
There's other teams have terrible owners now, and we're not the team that has the worst owner in the league. I promise you, somebody is not going to get the top 5 coaching candidates. We're going to get one of them. We're going to get who we want. The next 5 teams are going to get who they want. But like the head coach number 7, head coach number 8, like that team is it's basically like the lights come on at 3 a.m. It's last call.
It's Carolina, bro.
You're gonna have to go down to the end of the bar.
You got a crazy ass owner at the end of the bar sitting there at last call.
I got no other options. I mean, the lights came on. We got to go home.
These are the options.
Let's go.
We can't stay here, they said.
Eric Bieniemy is going to end up being the head coach of that team. Mark my words. And we're going to get at least a 4th-round pick for his services. I believe that's happening.
I would like that.
Speaking of trading head coaches or not trading,
we might be here until Tuesday.
Yeah.
Next week.
Get this guy off and let's go here. How about this? Bam. How about this guy?
Look at that flow.
Can we go to linebacker? Okay, so I'll say
very weird you said that
he hasn't been my number 1 choice for head coach for the most of the last 3 months because I never thought in a million years he'd be available. In the last month, it became apparent that he could possibly be available via trade. I think Mike Vrabel is a great football coach. I would love for him to be the coach of my football team. I would have considered a trade for him, honestly, if he was available via trade. He's my number 2. He's been my number 2 the whole time. He was fired today, I believe, correct? Which is the dumbest thing. I don't understand what Tennessee's doing. Amy
They hired a new GM last year.
Yeah, Carthon, who claims they're best friends.
Now they're like, Ray Carthon, we're going with him, not Vrabel. So it's so weird.
So
it's all crazy.
I think it's a big mistake. I think Mike Vrabel's gonna go somewhere. I'm in the tank for Mike Vrabel. However, Mike Vrabel wants, and in my personal humble opinion, deserves. He wants to be the chef. He wants to be the chef and the shopper. And I don't think that's the.
Everybody's talking about how that's just not working.
It's not going to happen here.
It's not working for anybody. Nobody's doing it well enough.
When Tom Brady's your quarterback, everything tends to work out. That's a bit of a skewed perspective because that's the last time it worked out.
I don't think that works for us, and it would be enough.
They're even pointing at the fact that since he's been gone, it hasn't worked out.
Since who?
Brady.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
From New England.
I think Bill Belichick's an all-time great coach.
He might be the all-time greatest coach.
I don't want him. I don't want to hire him. I don't think.
I don't either.
There's better places for him. I think
we don't need old balls around here. We need fresh new balls.
We have enough of those.
Too many old balls.
Yes.
He should be the coach of the midshipmen in Annapolis for the United States Naval Academy. I will continue to say that whenever I have an opportunity to do so. That's what it has to be. That's where he needs to go.
Yeah.
We'll see.
We will see.
It ain't gonna happen, but it will only be the billionth thing I've been wrong about. All right, so Mike Vrabel, Chargers.
He's a stud.
I think the Chargers are going to be willing to give him, even if it's lip service,
right for us.
No. He's not in that regard. He's not. He's not right for us.
He's a stud who's not right for us.
He's not right for us.
I mean, I love the guy. And I think he's a hell of a coach.
But there's going to be at least like a 3-part rom-com movie series where we're like on again, off again in a relationship.
No more linebacker head coaches. We don't have a type.
But
we don't have a type.
But I mean, look at that.
Schottenheimer was a linebacker. He lasted 1 second.
Is that
Strider's late night serenades?
Is the movie poster from the first movie or the second movie of our on again, off again?
The Football Notebook.
We were like breaking up, then getting back together. And then
no, he broke up with you, Ken. Just relax.
Oh, he broke up with me.
No,
right,
he never actually entered your fan mail.
All right, how about this? Let's get Mike Vrabel. I mean, Mike Vrabel is. I can't say enough good things, but he ain't coming here. I don't believe.
Studley dude.
How about
great leader of men?
All right,
not the guy.
This is a no, but he's on the list, and I'll tell you what. I think he's going to be a head coach in this league again because retreads are a thing, and he's stuck around long enough.
And
to
it might be
a
unfair
retread.
to call him a retread.
Well, he's been a head coach.
True, but also he has coached on both sides of the football.
Yes, he has.
In the highest level of football. And I'm not sure how many guys we can talk about.
He deserves to be a retread, I guess is my point.
This guy is coached at a high level on both sides of the ball. I know he is going to be an amazing addition to someone's franchise at some level.
Raheem
he always
Morris
has been.
He's
deserved. A badass son of a bitch.
He deserves to be a retread. I think that's the point.
But how he reinvented himself, bro.
I know. I think that's like the coolest thing about it is
he was the OC and passing game coordinator in Atlanta, and 5 seconds later he's doing this again. He's a Tampa 2 guy as a D coordinator. He's the dude.
Yep.
I just think that's super cool. I don't want him to be. He's already been here with us.
We can't retread our own retreads.
I know, and
we can't retread our own
guys. He was here when
guys.
Snyder was here, which gives him cooties. A
little bit of it. That's why my Philadelphia Eagles cootie stink. I mean, he's got the cootie stink.
No. Philly doesn't have cooties. That's herpes. So it's different than
tainted.
He's tainted.
All right, let's go.
Well, I don't like the use of that word. All willy nilly.
All right, let's get.
My least favorite phrase is when someone taints
How about
their
this
legacy.
guy? You can't not talk about this guy. Obviously, I think
taint
he has
legacy.
the same problem right away that Vrabel has. He's going to want a ton of power and control. He knows how the NFL works. He's been here before. He's actually been in the Super Bowl, weirdly enough.
He's just a weirdo.
I don't want him, but I know a lot of people
Look
do.
at that confetti. Each one of those pieces of
confetti.
amazing blue paper has a story to tell. What story does confetti tell, weirdo?
I don't even know there's that many stories. That was a lot of stories.
He's so good at telling people what they want to hear that eventually, he gets up against someone who can challenge him, and he's not one of 118 to 20 6-year-old.
Why is he so good?
He's damn good.
'Cause he's a
He's a
weirdo.
damn good coach who gives a shit, who has attention to detail.
He's a weirdo.
He's nuts. He is
Yeah, he's
absolutely a fucking phenomenal football coach.
In
And
order
I
to
don't
be
want
a
him
good
here for
football
anything.
coach, you
I
gotta
don't
be
want
a
him at
little
all.
strange.
I don't want him at all either.
It's
and
so
I,
weird
and I
that I don't want
respect
him.
him and like him. He's the guy we would have hired 10 years ago and been like, hell yeah.
Yeah, I want Mike Vrabel more than I want Jim Harbaugh.
Can you imagine the Harbaughs both in the DMV?
Look, but if he gets hired,
that's insane.
as head coach,
that's a great dinner, though.
If he actually gets hired, would you be upset?
By us?
No, I'm not going to be upset.
No.
This is wish list shit. Day two.
I don't
into
think
it.
I'd be upset either.
No, I'm not upset. It's just going to be weird.
Trepidatious.
He does crazy
He does. He does.
shit.
But he needs to get out of college because his
And
crazy
the
shit.
doctor.
He might need to get out of
It's
college.
pushing the envelope too much.
It might be college that gets him out of college, not Jim getting him out of college. He's always got something going on.
Sometimes
You can do that crap.
I
at the next
also
level.
I think about how great it must be. Think about just forget about wanting to win a Super Bowl for a second. Think about how great life must truly be in a way that we can appreciate, that people human beings can appreciate, to be college football, one of the best college football coaches on the planet at a program that loves college football as much as college football can possibly be loved. Is there a better? I'm trying to imagine a better life. I get wanting to ply your trade and see if you can do it and get to the Super Bowl, but for God's sakes, I think about Patino, Saban, and now Harbaugh, Dean Smith, Brett Krzyzewski. Is there a better life than what these guys had and have?
Are you doing the who's got
On the
it better
planet?
bit?
No, I'm specifically not. I'm specifically not doing that. I'm literally, but I feel it's like,
I'll say this about Jim Harbaugh.
yeah.
I think he's better at the pro level. He was unbelievable in San Francisco.
First of all, he is better than pro level, but because by the way,
Because there's less rules.
he's
Michigan
really
is a
good.
professional football team. Those are all professional. Those players are being paid to play football. He is coaching professional football players. He's been doing it for a while. You're right. He's a professional football coach.
I need 20 seconds. I told you this. He was the head coach at San Diego. My cousin was a starting safety under his regime for 3 years. All league, all this, all that, thriving. New coach comes in when he takes the Stanford job. My cousin has more of a side role. He's the captain, but I'm just saying, he was the dude. Harbaugh recognized that. Harbaugh, 1 year into his job at Stanford, comes back to San Diego at senior night for the banquet and sits at the table with my aunt and uncle and my cousin, who was his guy. He
that's
coached him at
great.
his position.
That's why he's great.
Because he thought
He knows.
that was the right thing to do. That sticks with me.
He slept over at a recruit's house, though. That was weird.
See what I'm saying? For every one of these amazing stories, there's something that puts him on a
know what?
watch
Can
list.
I sleep over, guys?
You know what though?
It'd be cool. It'd be a cool sleepover.
But you know how weird it sounds to say. But at the end of the day, when you think about the way football is and the family of that is involved in people that play their whole lives and it puts food on the table and blah blah
Yeah.
blah, staying over that fits. That's how it is. That's how it
Not
should
when
be.
you're 50, dude. Not when you're 50 with an 18-year-old. You tell me where it
I'm not
fits
like- not like
at
a
any
sleeping bag
level
on
that
the
a
floor.
50-year-old has a slumber party
It's
with an
not-
18-year-old.
There's not they're not doing
What are we
makeovers.
talking about, memes?
We're doing each other's hair. just face masks and
Let's totally do a
Pillow
TikTok.
fights.
We should TikTok and crank all some mother.
no
is
bras
making
were
me
being
uncomfortable.
frozen.
I know. I'm
Yeah.
getting uncomfortable, and I'm lashing out.
All right, so let's just wrap this up
Get
with
to the top, guys. Come on.
the
Do
top.
it.
There's only one guy
Do
left.
Do
There's
it.
only one guy left, and he was this guy
That you put up like an hour
that I
ago.
put up an hour ago.
He's too old.
He's too old. All right, how about this guy?
No.
Nah, he's
Super
too fast. Too fast.
He's a very
He's too
fast
fast.
guy.
Wrong sport.
Ben Johnson, Canadian
Too many-
sprinter.
too many steroids.
Jacked. Oh, just literally pumped full. He's more steroid than man. All right, how about this guy? There he is. All right, number one candidate. He's been a number one for months now. Here's the biggest sign today. At 10:29 p.m. on Tuesday night.
Yeah, man, I gotta go.
Everything can change in a heartbeat. Obviously, you don't have to go anywhere. Everything can change super fast. But Adam Peters and Ben Johnson is by far, as Ken Harris says, the winning ticket. And I believe that's what we're angling for. I believe this is what we want. This is what we want. We want to have Adam Peters.
It's number one and number one.
These are our guys, Adam Peters and Ben Johnson. And that's been a basement number one for months.
Basement.
So
look at any list.
No. I'm just saying we've been talking about that
before
for
these
long
recent
time.
lists. We have enjoyed. We didn't think we could get Adam Peters. We didn't.
Whoa.
He turned down two people. That was it seemed a bit of a pipe, especially we didn't know how this was all going to transpire. We didn't know the last 24, 48 hours was going to be magical-ish for hope. Anyways, that dude is a guy that right here, I'd rather have him than Peters, to tell you the truth. I'm not saying he's a better hire. I'm just saying I'm more convinced that he is the head coach because I think there's multiple guys that we can get as the GM that I do believe in.
And we have Eugene Chen already, obviously, is what part of your entire belief structure.
And you gave me $20 to say that earlier. So all's fair, and $20 is $20. So this guy right here, Detroit is 6th after the regular season ended, 6th in passing, 4th in rushing.
Yeah.
They have 4 guys that have scored 10 touchdowts. To me, in this
Can we
league,
name them? So it's Gibbs,
it's
Montgomery,
unheard of.
Laporta,
Gibbs, Montgomery,
and,
Laporta,
Amon St. Brown.
And by the way, Goff threw for over 4,500. Montgomery rushed for over 1,000. Gibbs 945
total.
Amon Ross St. Brown 1,500 yards receiving.
Snubbed by the Pro Bowl.
Laporta 889 yards receiving.
We call him De Laporta.
I'm sorry, man, but the balance of that attack and the resurrection of Jared Goff's career has never been more important than it was under Ben Johnson. What he's done is bonkers to me. It is, and by the way, 2 different things. He was a quality control guy when he started, and those guys are the guys that cut up all the film from the whole league. Anything, here's what the coach says, anything that would interest me, I want to see on film. So he has all these different things to do. And if you've seen him call football plays, he is the most fearless caller of offensive football in the NFL I've witnessed in many years. I'm not just talking about a trick gadget plays. These are the ones that work, the way Andy Reid makes them work, the way Pat Mahomes makes them work.
What NAS Tickmo was saying, Kev, 2 years of the league not figuring him out. I think it's true. He has. Like I said, I watched a lot of Detroit Lions games. I watched pretty much every single game this year. I had a little bit of an interest in every single one of those games. Man, I tell you what, they got so much. I mean, they got so much out of David Montgomery. I think that's so much credit belongs to David Montgomery. He was a good running back. He left Chicago, it was a rough spot, and he absolutely flourished in Detroit. I think people were surprised at how well he's played, but at the end of the day, like. What he's been able to do with Jared Goff is extraordinary. The amount of points, because again, they have been able to score points. They've actually had to score points, and they've gotten them. They've gotten them done. The play calling, you said fearless. He's 37. He's 37 years old, and I think that that's the direction you want to go. I'm almost worried, because I actually think that he's the guy we want, and I think that he's the guy everyone wants. Because he's the guy everyone wants, and I think he wants $15 million a year, and I think we're going to give him that. His agent came out and said, in no uncertain terms, Josina was wrong. We've never said this, and they aggressively have done that, and I love it. He basically said, "You're full of shit. No one said that to you. We've never talked to you, and this is not how we do business. I set you up for that. This is not how we do business. It's not, and it isn't. Hey, and you set me up for that again. 9 guys this year. Wait, not yet. Not yet. I'm just saying. Not yet, all right. Well, I will say this: dude's a grinder. He's a hard worker. David Blau, is that how you say it? The quarterback that's been there for 100 years. If you ever read the interview about him and Ben Johnson, who've been together since day one, it is so impressive. He calls him a dynamic communicator. He says he's the best he's ever been around. His preparation, attention to detail, hard work. He is the guy that everyone respects, and he says as a communicator.
He gets down to everyone, but he's like he is that guy. He's got, and all
He's
this
one
guy
you want.
did. All he said in his interview this week was talk about how Dan Campbell has been amazing, and everyone should go talk to AG and ask him the same questions y'all are asking me,
Yep.
because that dude's been around a lot longer than I have, and he's got more chops as a head coach. So leave me alone. Go talk to Aaron Glenn, and then let us take care of this playoffs. I love him, and that is my number one.
Ben
We have a lot
Johnson,
of great choices.
Adam Peters.
But this guy, if that happened,
I mean, if that happens, seriously, like we're gonna have to like move the camera up even further. I mean, because I don't know how much less pants. We're not showing any pants right now, but we're gonna have to definitely be.
I will
like,
definitely pull my titties
like
out.
nipple high. No,
there's
nipple high. Only.
I don't know if I want him hired. now.
Head. Like we're all gonna have to be like super
T,
close. Head.
T,
to
we
shot.
all have to sacrifice for the greater good.
Everyone needs to just think about team first. Obviously, T. I mean, let's be honest. You're gonna have to take off all your clothes.
Greg, he went to UNC, but he was a walk-on.
A walk-on
and I love
quarterback
these
at UNC
guys.
I mean,
A walk-on quarterback. That guy, he worked his way up to third-string quarterback as a senior.
your brother wasn't a walk-on.
I
quarterback
love
at
it. No, he was a
UNC.
full scholarship.
Yeah, he was a full scholarship quarterback.
I love how he walked. Asheville cat. These guys in Asheville, they treat people right. This guy understands a little home cooking. He understands some Southern hospitality. He understands how to work a room. He understands how to talk to the hardest working guy at the same tone you talk to the biggest star. That's what I love about him. That's what this league's all about.
Yep.
I'm thrilled about the possibility
could
to
be
have
a
a guy
thing.
like that here with a guy like Adam Peters.
Dude,
Adam Peters
it
looks pretty
is
flash and
possible.
dash. He looks pretty like. I'm
And
just,
you know
I'm
I
just
love
saying.
it. You know I love
you
it.
realize that he was out there like.
Finger gun? Well, I mean, in Miami.
I don't know about the finger.
Is it finger guns in Miami?
Wow.
I think
didn't
it's
say-
like
I said
my
nothing
little
but a finger
friend.
gun. This was the pocket dog.
Yep.
I just tried to go back to pocket dog, and I apologize, guys. I
love
know that
the
those finger
conversation on
guns
the
weren't
board.
wrapped in foil.
The conversation on the board. So there's the comment that I believe the $15 million per year was a response.
It was a boner.
It was about Carolina.
Josina Anderson had
And-
nothing to do with anything. She had misinformation.
Bad information. So that's great. And also,
It's going to be $14 million.
David Tepper. 14.7.
That's all right. You pay $6 million for a
14.98.
franchise. You ain't worried about what the head coach costs
No,
because
you're
they
not.
can't regulate that.
Nope.
Yes.
And that's also why.
Danny taught us
It's also
that.
kind of why you can't fire Eric
D-bag
Bieniemy.
Danny.
You can't fire Eric Bieniemy. And I get that, like, if you hire Ben Johnson next week, which I don't think you can do next week. I think you got to wait. I think you have to wait on Ben Johnson until the season's over for
Yeah, you're
Detroit.
going to have to.
But that's like we couldn't afford that. We did that before, and we had to go down and ask our recent offensive coordinator hire to find a tie in his Pinto so that he can wear it for a quick interview, and so we can announce we're hiring Jim Zorn as head coach. I think we're going to be okay. I think that with Bob Myers and Spielman, and then Adam Peters, Ben Johnson ain't going to go anywhere else. That's the beauty of the league right now. If the landscape of the league, which I love that we talk about on a regular basis, is change in our favor in the sense that we got rid of a terrible owner. We have a ton of salary cap space. We have draft pick capital. We have a top media market in the world. We have by far one of the most attractive spots to be a general manager. Not just, I mean, the head coach is whatever. I mean, I don't mean to belittle the head
This
coach.
GM job
the GM
gig
spot
right now. Oh,
it's
yeah.
literally the cream of the crop. Like there's no in any industry. How about this? Every $1 billion industry on the planet, all the ones that are screaming the tech and the AI and all the whatevers. There's almost no position available with the kind of upside that the general manager of the Washington Commanders has right now. We're talking about a multi-billion-dollar organization that is at rock bottom. All you can do is do this, and so you get a guy, and there's no way they're not going to want to be that guy. I mean, so by the time we talk next Tuesday night, I believe in my heart that we will have a general manager. I do believe it'll be Adam Peters, and I think that at that point in time. And I love at that point in time that the coaching interviews start. It's such a great, patient, professional, mature process. You say you're going to interview someone, you interview them. You make a decision, you get to the next one, and it goes GM, Then it goes coach. Then it goes, let's strap it on, boys, and get ready for
Let's
the
strap it
draft.
on, boys.
And then let's get ready for free agency. Period.
And I love all of that,
Yes,
except for the
that's
strap it
scary.
on boys part. But no, but I kind of love what Ken's saying. But here's the deal: the Maryland State sport is jousting.
Correct.
Okay.
And lacrosse. They
That's
voted.
the team sport.
Okay, fair enough.
They brought that in after a bunch of people from.
I've never
Baltimore and
jousted it with a
Annapolis.
teammate before. That's
Well,
true.
guess what? If Adam, Ben, and Caleb are members of our franchise, I'm going to walk around this entire
All right.
offseason, Maryland State sporting anyone in my way at the mall, at the grocery store, at the podcast, anywhere.
You have. That's what we're going to go out on tonight. We're at 1
I'm
hour
gonna
and
go
30 minutes in.
narwhal.
We're going out on Kevin's boner.
No,
No, we're going out on me going
no.
narwhal on everyone, jousting my
Don't
ass
go
off
out on
as
Kevin's
a Maryland
boner.
resident.
All I'm saying is there's a dozen people watching. We have 7 thumbs up. That means we're not getting through to everybody. And we're going to go out on this one. We're gonna go out on this
Hey
one.
guys, do me a
The
favor.
As you guys say,
quarterback.
Joust that button. Joust that button.
Joust it.
With your
We're gonna get
fingers.
No,
Joust
I
it
don't
with
care
your
how you
fingers.
joust it. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, it's between you and
It's your phone.
it's
Joust
between
how
you and
you
your
want to joust.
the thumbs up button. That's between you and your mouse.
But it's my phone.
All right. So we're gonna hire a guy between now and the next
Joust
show,
a bit outside.
and therefore, when we next talk, we believe we are going to be talking about: does the guy we just hired think that
Move
there's
to
a
one.
there's a quarterback available that you can never, ever, 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 ever pass up on, or conversely, does that GM think we have a chance to trade back 4 or 5 picks and still get the person / position that we want and draft capital and roll with Sam Howell? Now, like let's just be open and honest to like those 2 possibilities exist in a world. And we don't know exactly how that's going to go. But it's super exciting and fun to talk about. And I want to make, I want to be like, I want us to be like a source of positivity. Like this debate, like we literally can't, I don't believe we can lose here. I honestly don't. I think that if the new guy comes in and says, this is a guy you have to have, period.
Hopefully
And
the
full
new guy
stop.
doesn't pose like this because
Never.
that'll piss my ass
Mick
off.
Jagger, this is a little Mick Jagger rooster style. Just a rooster kick.
So we're going beast of burden on somebody's ass.
If the new guy comes in and says, I must have Caleb Williams, Chicago, name your price, and we pay it and we get Caleb Williams, great. I freaking love it.
I will sprint.
Done.
I will sprint to Holy Redeemer and
Yes.
light all of the candles
No problems here.
with my hot breath.
If that guy says, I would love to trade to like number 5, to trade back 3 picks, gain a first-round pick next year and some draft capital, roll with Sam Howell for another year, add offensive
I want Sam
linemen,
Howell on
blah,
the
blah,
team no matter what.
No matter what, he's on our team no matter what.
No matter what.
No matter
I want
what.
him on our team.
Then I'm riding on that train. I'm completely riding on the train. And I hope that in next week's show we can make the case peacefully for both, because I think both are great potential options forward for us.
I do too.
And both spell
I just have
success
always
for us.
wanted Caleb Williams ever
Yes.
since I was little.
Cheers. Cheers on that. Cheers on that.
Someone like him.
Listen, there's no
someone like him.
I know.
That's all.
St. John's,
And guess what?
DeMatha, McNamara, give me Gonzaga. I
Right.
know
None
I'm
of us
saying it.
want to say that.
I'm saying it.
Right.
And we're saying it and we're saying it.
Loud and proud.
Yeah.
I am a
Done.
lover. My name is Kevin. I'm from St. John's, and I love Caleb Williams.
My name is Ken. I'm from Bishop McNamara, and I also want Caleb Williams.
I don't actually have
Oh, gee, you didn't say it.
There's
Oh my
no
God.
way, Greg Martin. I'm telling you this. There's
Wait,
no
wait,
way.
I
I'm sorry.
actually
I
have
just
to say
how
that.
I feel is that there's no way Caleb Williams is going to be a bust because I know,
He won't be a bust.
and I've been wrong before, and I'll be wrong again. If I'm wrong about this, I'll be extremely disappointed. I've seen enough in him.
I think the only way he's a bust in anyone's mind is if he gets literally.
Let me just end it with this. The reason why he gets
over.
overjudged is because he extends plays. He extends plays. Well, he extends plays because that team he played on this year needed him to do it, to give them those long shot chances to score a point. That's what he's done. You're damn right he does, T. You understand? He knows how to go over and go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 and back and forth.
There's a Mr. Boscia on here who's watching us right now.
Exactly.
Who knows about this?
Exactly. And that's what people don't get. Everyone thinks, he's got to extend. He's got to extend this. He's got to extend that. Well, guess what? Thank God gave him the ability to do that, because many quarterbacks have dreamed about that ability. So how people are pointing at him and saying that's your default, you watch him go through a progression. You watch him do what normal quarterbacks do, because he does that no problem. What's next level about him is no one I've ever seen at this level, at this age, has ever been that good of a football player with the ball in hand when all hell breaks loose. But what he does just fine, and as well as anyone else on earth.
Kev, we've watched it up close and personal. I think that people need to understand, and I know there's people that watch our show that are from the area and they're from the WCAC, and they understand what we've seen. So, like, we've seen this guy up close and personal. We know him. We know his dad, Carl. There's no question marks about his dad. His dad's a great guy. It's all BS.
He's from a place of love.
Don't listen to any of that. Caleb's going to be a great quarterback in the National Football League. Hands down, it's not even a question. There's something about him that's special, and it's been special for a long time. And it's like, you can argue, I always say this, across our entire lives, we've played sports, and we've always been in the schoolyard or recess or after school, and we've played ball. And there's always that guy. There's always that guy. But that guy doesn't always last. It's not always that guy forever. But with some guys it is. And I'm saying, with Caleb it has been. And the thing about it is he has been that guy at every level. And that's the hardest thing to do. I know, Wayne, shout out Wayne Small. We always have a guy that we grew up with who we're there's no that should have been he should be in the Hall of Fame right now. He was the best guy we ever. He rocked our neighborhood. He rocked, the entire area. He was the best athlete. Period. But that guy doesn't always pan out. Something happens. They're a knucklehead. They get hurt. They hit a wall. They've plateaued. Caleb's never done that. He's always been the best guy. And I just. You gotta get that. That's what you go all in for.
The only athlete, and I love sports, that's lived up to the hype the way Caleb Williams lived up to the hype at Oklahoma and USC in those first 2 years before he played on this team this year. That, hey man, it just wasn't as talented as either of those two teams he previously played on. And I thought he had a great year this year, and he handled himself like a champ. But LeBron James and Caleb Williams, as a fan of sports. Baseball, these guys don't blossom. And you get a 21-year-old that jumps out there, but we're talking about babies. Yeah. Babies. And LeBron James coming into the NBA, averaging 20 points that rookie year. No one thought that was going to happen because of the hype. Yep. Caleb Williams dealt with that hype here, nationwide, and everywhere else. And we know that he dealt with it every second of his life. And what did he do? He was completely effing special. His lower half is tremendous. His arm strength is as good as anyone's. He has a better lower half than anyone in the NFL right now. I'm sorry. I'm dead serious. Pat Mahomes and him are comps. He is more of the badass athlete, Pat Mahomes, and he doesn't need to be the guy that runs ever. Caleb doesn't. He doesn't want to. I'm just saying, at this level, going on a rookie contract, he might be the greatest value of any draft pick in recent history on a rookie contract, depending on where he goes.
I 100% agree.
FL. And if it's with Ben, I can't even fucking imagine.
If he comes back,
after we get a bunch of
if he comes back home,
a bunch of O-linemen, a ton of O-linemen, and more O-linemen. You don't get a Caleb unless you're going to surround him. Sorry. You got
to spend all your free agency money. All your free agency money has to go to offensive line.
Is it a shock that Michigan was voted number one line in the country last year, and Washington was voted number one line in the country this year, and they happen to be in the national championship?
Ta-da!
It's not,
Ta-da!
Yeah,
no one jumped out of the cake because everyone already knew. Exactly.
And we talk about Caleb Williams, and we talk about what we've seen, these three basement dwellers, and him be one of the better athletes in the greatest high school sports conference in the country, which we're unabashedly, would argue. I watched last night's game. I noticed, I looked at that game last night. I watched Michigan line up on defense. There are 2 defensive tackles, number 99 and number 94. One of them went to St. John's, one of them went to Good Counsel, I believe.
How about that cornerback?
And also,
one went to DeMatha.
that cornerback. So don't tell me that when we're watching a guy like him.
And hold up,
and we,
the safety from St. John's, Quentin Johnson, wearing number 28, who's
Yes.
been a big
Yes.
stud this year. He led the team in special teams tackles. He didn't
Yes,
have
he
a
did.
ton of reps on. He's one of the 4 rotating safeties, so we didn't see him flying in there.
and
but-
Shamari Stone's
Hey.
son's there as well.
And Quentin Johnson's famous for, in the St. John's Gonzaga game that we called, taking the ball from Caleb Williams and running 99 yards the other way for a touchdown. This guy, the WCAC presence on Michigan's national championship defense.
We can
was
judge
special.
talent. If you
Josh
wa-
Wallace was guarding their number 1 receiver
Yes.
in man-to-man coverage with no over-the-top help for a majority of the game. And they said, this is the matchup we're trying to... Josh Wallace, he won.
DeMarco Helms was
He
covering receivers.
won. He won.
Yes.
I loved it. I love watching dudes that we watched since they were babies win a national championship.
And remember,
Oh,
he
sorry.
He started
Quentin
off.
Johnson, yes. I was talking about like basically.
UMass.
He did. No, he
Wallace.
3
He
times
transferred in.
3-year captain at UMass, first team all everything, 3-year captain, all of it. He had 1 year left, and he was like, you know what, Jenkins and Cam are my
win a
boys.
national
I've been playing in this league forever, and when I watched him at the very end, sprinting off the field, he did everything right in his 4 years, and you get that 1 year because of that pandemic, which was so shitty for everyone. He turned that pandemic year into a national championship with his boys at Michigan.
Yes.
Wow, talk about exposing the game for your benefit. A+, Josh Wallace, and you played your freaking ass off.
Yep.
So did Nick Jenkins and Cam Good.
And Cam
Those
Good.
boys were rocking and rolling. Quentin Johnson, way to run down on specials and fill in on
Cam
D.
Good, by the way,
Get that ring.
might have played himself into a late round potential.
Hot plate good. You guys were giving me shit. Yeah, you got to get bigger to go to Michigan.
Yeah, he got bigger. He got bigger.
Chunky but funky.
Way big.
So
All right. It's getting too late. If I pour one more of these, it's going to be X-rated.
people
I gotta go to
people want to.
bed.
You guys go to
He's not
bed.
going. He's
I
not
got-
going
I
anywhere.
got- I
It's
gotta
only
go out
it's in the
tomorrow.
tens now.
Bro, I got
you know.
a
The
business
green
trip.
room is happening.
I got a
It's going to be
business trip.
happening.
We got a business trip right
We got a
now.
whole green room situation going on
Sheesh.
after this. The T can't escape, and it's contraction. He's like every going to be. He hasn't been let go. Hasn't been let go from his
Even
green
if we
room
didn't say
contract.
shit, he wasn't going nowhere.
But we're gonna get out of here tonight. We're gonna be back in 7 days. We're gonna have a GM by then. The off season on the brink.
Too small, my ass.
How about this? How about this? Every year,
Look at that lower half, brother, and that right arm.
every year we talk about it, the off season on the brink, as an idea that, like, oh well, it can't possibly be like. How can we redefine brink any more than we've already defined it? Guess what? How about in the best possible way, in the way that it was meant to be, when John Feinstein wrote about the University of Indiana basketball team the year before they won the national championship? I'm not going to say we're going to win the Super Bowl next year, but this off-season on the brink, to me, is the one that launches us into the next era of Washington football, which, by the way, is what we're rolling this for. I mean, for God's sake, we're drinking whiskey and talking about it on Tuesday nights in the basement
We're launching.
because we love it. And we're gonna love it so much more as we move forward. The energy is positive. The vibes are positive. He's Tim Strachan.
what I love?
Super positive.
I love that we don't have a game to talk about next week. What we
No
do
way.
is who gets hired, right?
Yeah.
What's the next domino to fall?
Yeah.
There's going to be so much more to talk about next week, and that's what I'm looking forward to, and having you guys back.
He's Kevin Ricca.
It was cool as hell for all of us the last day and a half. Just it wasn't winning in the offseason. It was not. It was reestablishing our franchise as something that we can all be proud of. And I really think this was the first step from what's his name to watching how we've done this. It's not a dog and pony show. These are the top candidates. Now, if we don't sign one of the top 7 on either side, we can talk about that next week too, as we cry. Right now, man, Josh Harris, I really appreciate the transparency, the honesty, and the openness. I believe in this man.
Yep.
I do.
I don't think we're in anywhere close to where we were years ago, where we're worried about top candidates not wanting to come here. I think the way they're conducting themselves lends itself to
No doubt.
quality talent being attracted to our opportunities. Thank you guys so much for staying with us through a regular season of tough football to talk about. The off season on the brink begins right this very second for us. However, next week, we're going to talk about the wild card weekend that was. It's one of the greatest weekends in National Football League every single year. There's no way we don't talk about it. We'll talk about the matchups in the divisional round to come, and we'll get real about where we are as a Commanders franchise. Please, if you haven't already done so, hit the subscribe button.
Awesome. All you guys were awesome tonight.
Hit the thumbs
so much
up.
fun.
And
So much fun.
If
so
you
much
wouldn't
fun,
mind
man.
doing so, let folks know this is the best sports talk radio in town. Put it on in your car.
It's definitely the thirstiest.
Put it on on your commute to and from work. Appreciate you guys. You know what? Can I just say one thing because we are still live? I'll tell you what. I'll do this the way we used to do it. We'll do it like this. We are still live. I don't think our sports radio is rising to the occasion. I think we're recycling too many old balls. The whole situation is terrible. I understand they paid the price.
You have friends in this.
No, but hey, listen.
Old friends got old balls, sir.
They've
I've
been working
taught
for
that my
25
whole
years.
life.
Jesus.
No, the host, the same voices. We need new voices, and I'm going to say we need our voices. Period. But the thing is, you just can't keep listening to the same guys talk about.
But they won't let us on the radio and talk about boners as much as we do.
No, they will.
Is whiskey drinking allowed early in the AM at your guys' houses? Because
Well, in
it's
my
after
house, it is.
it's after 12 somewhere.
it's something we're going to have to discuss.
If we just change, we have to change it around. We have to live a different schedule. But yeah, if we make 7 a.m. more like our 1 through 10 a.m.
We're going to have to get one of them tiny houses in the back of your house.
You know what? Maybe we just don't live as long as everybody else. I don't know what the right answer is.
I
just don't know. Is the A for Andrew AGH? Ken, no one else around here is still up. It has to be. Look at that. There it is. It's got to be Wales. It's got to be Wales.
There's no doubt.
Did he change providers?
He did.
He changed providers.
That's fine.
He used to be Verizon. Now he's Comcast. I don't know what that is. All right. We'll see you next Tuesday.